Alcatraz. In 1850, this place became a military reservation in order to protect San Francisco Bay due to the California gold rush. It became the first operational lighthouse of the West Coast. And by the 1850s, this place became a prison for the U.S. Army. During the Civil War, Fort Alcatraz was used to imprison Confederate sympathizers and privateers on the West Coast, but its guns were never fired at an enemy. From 1850 until 1933, it was a military prison. On October 12, 1933, this became a maximum security prison for the U.S. government. It was transferred to the U.S. Department of Justice to be used by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And then on August 1934, the state prison opened. So many famous convicts resided here, such as Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, Gangster Bumpy Johnson, Alvin Karpis, and Robert Stroud, known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. The island's most famous prisoner was probably Robert Stroud, the so-called Birdman of Alcatraz, who spent 54 years of his life behind bars. 6 of those years in the infamous D Block. If the man did not behave at another institution, he could be sent to Alcatraz, where the highly structured, monotonous daily routine was designed to teach an inmate to follow rules and regulations. But still, living conditions were still better than other prisons. Interesting thing about Alcatraz, the family housing. A lot of guards live with their families on the island, as it was harder to keep going back and forth between their work life and their family life to go back on shore. So a lot of families got the option to live on the island. This seems like it's harder to separate work and the life balance, which probably led to more of the hauntings, more of the violence and tension that you feel when you visit Alcatraz. From a distance, it seems like a beautiful place, but there's a lot of dark history in Alcatraz. The place where the morgue was located at. Very eerie, very creepy. I'll try to get as close as I can so you guys can take a look inside. If you've never been to the island of Alcatraz, I highly recommend it. If you're into the paranormal or just like to visit historical locations, this is one hell of a trip to make. A total of 36 prisoners made 14 escape attempts. 2 men trying twice. 23 were caught alive. 6 were shot and killed during their escape. 2 drowned, and 5 were listed as missing and presumed drowned. The most violent incident occurred on May 2nd, 1946, when a failed escape attempt by 6 prisoners led to the Battle of Alcatraz. Perhaps the most famous is the intricate escape carried out on June 11, 1962, by Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. The 3 men are believed to have drowned in their attempt. Although most escapees were caught or drowned, in 1962, prisoner John Paul Scott made it to the shore. However, he was so weary that police found him unconscious and in hypothermic shock. And now we enter the South House entrance. The dark history of the Native Americans, known as, I believe, the Hopi tribe. I'm probably saying that wrong. In 1895, they were incarcerated by the U.S. government. It was a dark time when the U.S. government had tensions, as I'm pretty sure continue now, with Native Americans, and they refused to go to the American schools. When the natives did not send the children to the school, the U.S. government arrested 19 of them, incarcerating them in Alcatraz under hardship conditions for 1 year. This is a laundry room where all the prisoners would get their clothing. Very interesting place. It's really an eye-opener when you come in here. Let's see what else we find in here. So you have A block, B block, and C block. What you see here is B block. These 3 blocks, A, B, and C block, seem to be haunted according to eyewitnesses and visitors. You should make sure you visit these cell blocks when you come here. Many people that have toured the prison have said that they can hear moaning and crying coming from these blocks. People have said they have experienced someone touching their back or shoulders, or even felt cold spots on their body. You may even run to the Alcatraz ghost called the Butcher, who was known to be assassinated here in the 1940s. Just a few things people have claimed to experience. You never know what you will run into when you take the plunge and find out more about this exciting yet daunting prison island. Imagine putting yourself in their shoes, living in this hellhole. Maybe not a hellhole, like I said. Supposedly there was a lot more worse conditions at different prisons, and this one was one of the more nicer ones. of these convicts spend their time creating art, such as painting, creating music, or by reading. Later, convicts read 75 through 100 books a year, 15,000 volumes in the library, including philosophy, fiction, and educational material. Everything else was banned. On March 21st, 1963, Alcatraz was closed down because it was too expensive. After the prison closed in the 60s, Alcatraz was basically abandoned. Many ideas were proposed for the island, including a monument to the United Nations, or a West Coast version of the Statue of Liberty, or a shopping center, hotel complex. In 1969, the island again made news when a group of Native American Indians claimed Alcatraz as Indian land, with the hope of creating a Native American cultural center and education complex on the island. The, quote, Indian of all tribes used their act of civil disobedience to illustrate the trouble faced by Native Americans. Initially, the public support for Native Americans' cause was strong. Thousands of people, school children, celebrities, hippies, Vietnam War protesters, and Hells Angels came to the island for the next 18 months. Unfortunately, the Native American leadership group could not control the situation, and much damage occurred: graffiti, vandalism, and a fire that destroyed the lighthouse keeper's home, the warden's home, and the officers' club. And federal marshals removed the remaining Native Americans from the island. During the 19 months and 9 days of occupation by the American Indians, several buildings at Alcatraz were damaged or destroyed by a fire. Graffiti from the period of Native American occupation is still visible at many locations on the island. In 1972, the National Park Service purchased Alcatraz, along with Fort Mason from the U.S. Army. William Baker, perhaps the most oldest surviving prisoner of Alcatraz, spent more than 20 years there, who still comes to visit and to share his experiences with the tourists. I asked him if he believed in ghosts, but he said the ghost was something he never felt. He never felt that paranormal presence. Perhaps the real danger was surviving Alcatraz. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more content. Block. This is the most notorious block in Alcatraz. This is where the worst prisoners end up in, where the inmates that misbehave end up in. According to the tourists and to the tour guides, this is a section of the Alcatraz prison that has the most violent spirits and most paranormal activity. The different degrees of punishment include isolation, solitary, and strip. Prisoners usually spend anywhere from 3 to 19 days in solitary. These prisoners would be given their meals in their cells, were not permitted to work, and they could only shower twice a week. The Birdman on Alcatraz was given cell 42 in D block, where he was in solitary confinement for 6 years. The worst cells for confinement as a punishment for inmates who stepped out of line were located at the end of D block in cells 9 through 14, known as the hole. Inmates held in the hole were limited to just one 10-minute shower and an hour of exercise in the yard a week. The 5 cells of the hole had nothing but a sink and a toilet. But the very worst cell was the final cell, nicknamed the Oriental or strip cell, which contained nothing but a hole in the floor as a toilet, in which prisoners would often be confined naked with nothing else for 2 days. Inmate Henry Young said this about the hole. Its size was approximately that of a regular cell, 9 feet by 5 feet by about 7 feet high. I could just touch the ceiling by stretching out my arm. You are stripped nude and pushed into the cell. Guards take your clothes and go over them minutely for what few grains of tobacco may have fallen into the cuffs or pockets. There is no soap, no tobacco, no toothbrush. The smell, well, you can describe it only by the word stink. It's like stepping into a... If you enjoyed this video and you want more content, don't forget to check out Horror Fan TV on Facebook and Instagram. If you like this music, go check out Final Girl Synth on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to Horror Fan TV for more videos. See you next time.